This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, good morning everyone. Hope you are able to see my screen as well as hear me.
Yes, Madhu. Good morning.
Okay, good morning. Hope you had great weekend and also got some time to relax. So, okay, this is going to be our 12th online session on Foundations in Machine Learning course. Okay, the last session we started our discussion on very important Python library that is widely used for machine learning work, that is NumPy, numerical Python library, and we started learning about that. As I told you, our goal is not to learn very deeply, spend a lot of time, but just enough time to be able to grasp it and then be able to use it while we are doing projects, or at least understand what we are doing, why we are doing while we are doing projects. With that goal in mind, we are learning. But as I told you, whoever is aspiring to be a serious machine learning professional, please learn it more thoroughly. That will help you. So last session, we introduced NumPy and we told NumPy holds what we call an array kind of object, and they can be n-dimensional arrays. So NumPy came up with a very intelligent data structure called ND array. We tried to build single dimensional arrays. We can build multi-dimensional array, and again arrays are having all the properties of lists. Basically, they are mutable sequential objects, so we can use zero indexing and slice and dice and get to the elements of an array, of a multi-dimensional array as well. And also we talked one basic difference between a list and an array is that array can hold only homogeneous type of objects, and also it organizes in a way different than lists internally, which we are not going into that, but that gives a lot of performance gains over lists, especially while doing mathematics across many table kind of matrix kind of objects. That's where we talked about its ability to do element wise maths. That is very useful for us in our data science and machine learning work. So we talked about it, and we performed some mathematical operations on our two-dimensional arrays. A lot of mathematical functions have been developed to do maths on rows and columns kind of information. So maybe what we will do is that let us just open our Jupyter notebook and do a quick recap of whatever we have learned. Okay, so let me get to my, where is this? I think this is NumPy exercise. This is my, okay. So hope you are able to see my screen, my Jupyter notebook. Just confirm.
Okay. Yes, Madhu.
So anyway,
yes.
Okay. So whenever we want to work on with numerical Python library NumPy, we have to first import it, and we import it and give an alias, always NP. So henceforth, whatever we do with NP's functionality, we always refer to NP dot something. That's how we are used. This is a very commonly used alias, so we are also using. You can use anything, but this is a very common thing. So I imported my NumPy and gave an alias of NP. Now I'm creating my first array with 4 integers. So how do I do? The basic way of creating a NumPy array is use np.array function and pass a list to that as an argument, and it will create you an array. Okay, so let me create that. So basically I gave it an array underscore a name and used np.array and passed a list that is 0, 1, 2, 3. So 4 elements, integer elements I have done. So basically you can check on that after creating. So this object belongs to numpy.nd array object. So this is an n-dimensional array type data structure. It is not list. So okay, so keep that in mind. So now when you print it, you are printing your thing. So we talked about 2 attributes of this arrays. One very important attribute is array underscore a d type. It will tell what is the data type of the elements that are being held in the array. So anyway, in this Microsoft computer, it is storing as int32, maybe in some computers int64, but while defining array underscore a, you can pass an argument about size using which you want to hold this object. You can reduce it or increase it based on your numbers. Okay, so keep that in mind. As we told, array underscore a dot d type gives you int32. Then these are homogeneous objects. Okay, if I do this, I try to create a new array underscore b with one string FOUR and 2 integers 5 and 6. What will happen? Actually, it will convert all of them into strings, because strings are more precise data type. They need more memory locations to hold these variables, objects. So it will create something like this. Okay, in case you want to see the d type, it will be basically a string type d type will be there for this. Okay, then another attribute, very important attribute we have to always know is that dot shape. Okay, so basically dot shape or ndim also is there, dimensions, it will give number of dimensions, but dot shape is an attribute which tells the shape of your n-dimensional array that you have declared. Okay, so basically whenever you give this, it will return a tuple. Okay, it will return a tuple with the number of elements that are returned in the tuple indicate the dimensions of your nd array, and the numbers in those elements, like 4 here and 3 here, they are the length of that dimension. So if you look at it, array underscore a dot shape, I was returned with a tuple with 1 element, meaning yes, it is a 1-dimensional array, and in that 1 dimension, the length of the dimension is 4. And similarly, for my array underscore b dot shape, again it is also a 1-dimensional array, and the length of that 1-dimensional array is 3, because I have only 3 elements there. Okay, so that's also we discussed. Then let us create a multi-dimensional array. So here I am passing list of lists. Okay, so if you look at it, I am passing 3 lists. In this, 1, 2, 3 as one list, 4, 5, 6 as another list, 7, 8, 9 as another list. Okay, so basically I am giving 3 rows of information and 3 columns of information, and ask it to store as a 3 by 2 matrix form. Okay, so again, we will never define arrays in this, because you have to be very carefully understand how are you giving list of lists. So basically here I am creating a multi-dimensional array, and I am checking the shape of that. Okay, So when I asked, after defining it, when I asked for shape, it returned 3, 3. First, it's a tuple having 2 elements. So it is a 2-dimensional array. So it has one axis along the x-axis, one axis along the y-axis. X-axis is the rows, y-axis is the column. So it basically, simple way to, in a matrix kind of thing, we can think like it's a table comprising of 3 rows and 3 columns. Okay. So if you print this, print say, array underscore C. Okay, then it will give you a matrix like this. Okay, so in the similar way, you can create 3 lists. Carefully you have to type, otherwise a lot of these square brackets are opened, and somewhere here after giving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I have given again another list of lists. So it's a list of lists. This is how we are increasing the dimension. Okay. So if you carefully do that, array underscore D is basically a 3-dimensional array. Created it, and now I want to look at the shape of that. So it returned 3 elements. Okay, it returned 3 elements means it is 3-dimensional ND array with first dimension having length of 2, second dimension of length of 3, third dimension is having a length of 3, and like that you can keep on increasing the dimensions. Multi-dimensional is possible here in NumPy. Okay, so then we have also talked about, because arrays are almost like lists, we can use the indexing, zero indexing, and access a particular element. Okay, as I told you, in arrays there are rows and columns. So basically, this always you have to think about. Let me put it back here. Let's say you are indexing array. Okay, the indexing. So always it is rows, comma, column. Okay, you can escape rows and see only columns if you want to see, or you can avoid or omit columns, then only you can see rows, or you want to see a particular column to in a row and particular thing in a column and only those subcells also you can do that. So basically array rows, comma, column, that is the broad thing, but within rows and columns, like our whatever possibilities to slice and dice is there, rows also can be have start index, colon, and index. That's what we learned in, again, column also we can have start index, colon, and index. So you have to little bit key as dimensions increase. This will become little bit tricky. So basically practice it. That is very important. So here, anyway, array underscore A is a simple single dimensional array. I'm doing it with zeroth element and last element. Okay, and that is simple. Then here, if you look at it, I'm looking at again my array underscore A single row. Basically, I'm using the start index, colon, and index. Starting is inclusive. Inclusive means second 0, 1, 2, and 4 is not inclusive, so 3. So 2 and 3 will, second and third element will be shown to you here. Okay, so also we talk about a very important feature of NumPy, that it defines one object called nan, np.nan, not a number. Whenever you have a large data set and which has a lot of blanks, then while reading, NumPy automatically puts np.nan object, so that it will not keep it as a blank, but it will tell that there was a blank and I replaced it with one not a number object. And we have looked at not a number object, it stores as a basically a float. Okay, if you look at D type, even NAN, though it's a string, internally NumPy stores it as a float 64 object. Then we also looked at our multi-dimensional array characteristics. So we created here a simple 2 rows, 3 column, 2-dimensional array. Okay, and what will it return? Dot shape. It will return a tuple of 2 elements, 2 rows and 3 columns, 2 comma 3. Okay, this is the shape of that. Here I'm creating a 3-dimensional array, and it is shape is 2 comma 3 comma 3. The tuple has 3 elements. The first dimension is having 2, and second dimension has 3 and 3. So that is how it is done. Then you can print them, how it has created these things. 2 tables of 3 by 3. That is what is the real 3-dimensional thing. So 2 tables of 3 into 3 matrices. Okay. So we also talked about whatever shape you have, you can always change the shape using the dot reshape. So I have my array underscore C is a 2 by 3. I'm changing it to 3 by 2. You can reshape to anything as long as total number of elements are same. You cannot do 3 by 3. 3 into 3 you cannot do. You can do 6 into 1, 1 into 6, 3 into 2, 2 into 3. That's it. You cannot do anything else. So the constraint is total number of elements cannot be changed. Okay, so we have reshaped it here. Let's say reshape it to 1 comma 6. So we are making it as a flat thing of 1 row with 6 length. But issue with reshape is that it reshapes, but it will not change its dimensionality. So whatever the original dimension of 2 by 3, that is how we have created it, array underscore C here, 2 by 3, it is retaining its dimensionality. In case you want to, in your application, you have a need for changing the shape also, then you have to reshape whatever you have reshaped to 1 by 6, and let's say we are taking shape here, it is still basically by passing 1 comma 6 tuple, you are reshaping it, then it is reshaped to whatever single dimension, and also it converted into it still has 2 elements. Here we are checking length actually. So basically array underscore dot C shape returns the tuple giving more information. If you see length of this tuple will be calculated and put. So it is still 2-dimensional. So to convert into reshape it and also convert into 1 dimension, either you have to pass array underscore C dot reshape a tuple 6 comma, only 1 element I am passing as my tuple. That is one way. Or I can use a function flatten. Then it will flatten from the multi-dimension to single dimension, and also change the length. Okay, that's what we are really checking here. If you take the length now, it will be 1. Okay, that is what we have seen. And also, like when we talked about reshape 1 2 3 4 5 6 and reshaping it to basically you are doing 3 by 2, then it is snapping at 1 2, and then in the next row 3 4, in the next row 5 6 it is putting. That is how it does. But let's say you want to replace rows with columns, then there is a better function available in NumPy, that is array underscore C dot transpose, which actually does this way. The row has become now column. Okay, so that is also there. Then we can create NumPy arrays in multiple ways using range function. So I am building a NumPy array with starting from 1 to 9, and I'm shaping it in 3 by 3 and creating one, and now I can play with it and do my indexing thing. So rows, comma, column. So here the first one is 0th row, means first row I want to see. I want to omit everything about the column. So I will see here my first row, that is my 0 indexed 1, 2, 3. I'm seeing here, I'm seeing array underscore d1 comma row comma omitting my column part, with that column means I'm not doing anything start and all there. So that is how we give the syntax here. Then what happens, I will see my second row. Okay, 4, 5, 6 I'm seeing. Let's say I want to see the second column, that is 3, 6, 9, 0, 1, 2, third column. I want to see, then I am giving colon comma, means I am omitting total my row, only I am giving column, full column, so 2 I have given. Okay, then I want to see the first column, then I am seeing omitting full row comma colon. Similarly, if I want to omit, I want to see select elements that are starting after second row and second column. So only 4 elements I want to see. So this is my start index of row, omitting end index, comma. This is my start index of column, comma, colon. I'm omitting the end index of column. So it will give my, if you look at here 5, 6, 8, 9 will be selected here because of my indexing I'm doing like this. Okay, like that you can do multiple ways. Okay, so that is what we have all talked about it. And then we also talked about all the maths. So basically, anyway, if you want to print here with a little bit of distance, I told you, you give comma string /n, then it will give you a little bit space, more readable. So I'm creating two tables, floats, simple tables. I want to do some maths. If they are lists, plus will operate as a concatenation, but here it does element wise mathematics. So it first element of the first row of the first table plus in the second table, same thing, same element will be added, like that. Same thing we can do with our all mathematical operations. You can subtract, you can multiply, you can divide, you can modulus. Then you can do the same thing with scalars, constants. You can add element wise. So all maths that happens in our NumPy tables is element wise, and you don't need to write all those for loops. Internally it takes care, the data structure itself takes care of that. And again, we can do some mathematical functions on your NumPy objects, power, log, square root, anything you think is actually, you can do it, and it will do element wise. Okay, then you can do again functions, sum of that, min of that. Then again, axis wise, column wise aggregates, row wise aggregates can be done. Axis equal to 0, you do sum of your table, then it will do column wise aggregation. And if you give axis equal to 1, it will do your row wise aggregates. These are all we have talked in the previous class. So let us go back. Any questions so far? Are you with me? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So anyway, you keep practicing. One thing I want to tell is that it is not really rocket science. It needs only a little bit of practice. Okay. So now another very important feature of our NumPy library is that NumPy comes with lot of random tools. Sometimes NumPy random tools are actually called reliably random. People use this word, reliably random. So this is a kind of paradoxical statement. anything random means if I do something now, it will produce something, and do the second time same thing, it will produce something else. Okay, that is what is called random. Okay, then what is reliable? If it is always consistent, it is called reliable. But NumPy tools, we are always calling it as reliably random. It's a very paradoxical statement. We'll look at it, why and how it is important, these random tools that are available with NumPy. Okay, so NumPy is reliably random. NumPy comes with a sub-module called np.random, and you go to np.random. and do a tab. There are so many functions, attributes, mathematics available on that np.random functionality. You can go to the documentation. It is huge. Anyway, right now we will not try to even cover anything. Whatever basics we'll try to understand. So basically this submodule of NumPy has many useful tools for random sampling from various distributions and generating randomized data. So in a typical data science machine learning work, as you are really trying to understand a very complex data, and also you're trying to build some models around that complex data, sometimes they are so complex that it is very tough to understand anything. Let's say you are given a very large table which has some, let's say, 10,000 columns and 10 lakh rows of information, and these 10,000 columns have all types of information. Some of them are only words and texts, some of them are numbers, some of them are blanks. It's very, very complex, and these rows also are some 10 lakh rows are there. So it is, and again, real data where you do as a data scientist some work on the data, and also as a machine learning professional building models on the data, always data will be like that only. So better we get ready to deal with such situations, and we are preparing for dealing with those situations. Now, at times, actually, to understand very complex data, we need to build some intuition. So to build some intuition, we want to suddenly create some toy kind of data sets on our own, smaller ones, and smaller ones, but keeping the characteristics of the bigger one, so that we can understand what is really happening, and we can build some intuition of what exactly is the data and what I am really making to attempt to do it. Those kind of things, always you need some tools at your disposal to make your own synthetic toy data and play with it to really solve the real complex data later. So NumPy random functionality library gives you all those facilities. We'll go through some of them very quickly through our exercise also. So first, like so far we have been creating whatever arrays using np.array and manually passing our own list of lists. Okay, that is one way, very not so efficient way. Then we used range function and tried to create a list and then reshaped it to create a two-dimensional array. But then you have some functions like this np.random.random int. This is one function which actually helps you to create your own random integers, and when you draw a random integers by giving some arguments to this function, it will actually select a uniform distribution of those numbers and picks for you. They are random numbers. It's like a lottery. There are some numbers in a jar and you are picking up. So what is uniform distribution? Uniform distribution is a probability distribution that every number has equal chance of being picked up. So but those kind of functions are there, this random int and all. So basically random int np.random, in that actually random int is one function, like that many functions are there. You can pick many types of distributions. Okay, once you get into statistics, you will learn about that. In some contexts, you need some kind of data to be picked up to conduct some experiments. So right now we are using a function to do pick up some numbers uniformly. So what are the arguments here? You can give the low number from where we want to start, and then what is the last number, large number, upper side, you put that high. And you can also talk about size, okay, number of samples to draw. So let's say we want to generate 64 random digits from 0 to 9. Okay, so we usually give 0, low is 0. Actually, you don't need to write like this, but these are the function arguments. Once you know low, high, size, you can give 0, 10, 64 also, it will work. And many more arguments also are there. Okay, you can pass a tuple also directly to this. Okay, we have to read the functionality of this function, and then we can use it in much more intelligent way as well. So here, in a very simple way, we are doing it. I'm using np.random rand int function. I am giving the lower boundary as 0, higher boundary as 10. So between 0 and 10, usually not inclusive. Okay, 10 means 9. So 9 and size 64. I want to create 64 digits, one array. Okay, so that is what it will be creating. So why don't you please type it? np dot, whoever is trying programs, let us start that and tell me when you are ready. Got it? Anybody trying it?
Yes, Madhu.
Anybody got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so basically what we did, we told through this function, hey, pick for me 64 numbers randomly from 0, starting with 0, ending with 9. Randomly give me 64 numbers. So it gave. So actually, if you run second time, it will give separate order numbers, but forget about it now. So let us, we have printed it. So it created one big list of 64 length. So it's a single dimensional array with length of 64. Okay, but let's say we want to organize it into 8 by 8 matrix. Okay, then sample is my one that I created. Okay, on that I'm running this function called dot reshape, and I'm passing an argument. There is a lot of noise from some computer, so please mute. Okay, hope you are able to hear me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, fine. So here the sample that has been created of 64 single row list array, I am reshaping it by running my dot reshape function, and I am passing my tuple. So because of the tuple, I'm putting it in a parenthesis. Keep that in mind. So reshape, within that parenthesis 8 comma 8 means I am passing a tuple telling to reshape it in 8 by 8 matrix. Okay, so this one, so 110895, this is 8. So reshaping, it is snapping here, and next 8 are putting into the next row. Like that, it is putting into 8 rows here. Keep that in, see that what exactly it has done. Okay, so now I have a 8 by 8 matrix generated using my rand int function picked from numbers 0 to 9 using a uniform distribution, probability distribution. Okay. So, but again, we did it in two steps. One, we created 64 digits and then did a reshape. Actually, all of these things we can do it in a single step also by passing tuple also along with the function itself. Here, what I'm doing here, I'm using now a generated matrix as the name of the variable, np dot random dot randint. So I am my start value lower boundary. Okay. Oh, sorry. Lower boundary, my upper boundary, and my tuple. I'm not doing it two steps. First create one dimensional array, then on that dot reshape and tuple. Actually, we can create by passing all three arguments at a time. So just this is better way of doing it. So we have done it. So whatever we have done, same thing has been done. Again, only thing, if you see the rows and columns, because it's a random thing, every time you execute, it will generate something new. Okay. So far clear? Did you try the second way of passing tuple also while generating? So we did np dot random dot rand int. This is always keep this rand int and read the whatever manual or instructions how it will be used, help file, then starting thing, okay, ending thing, and then a tuple 8 by 8. Oh, sorry, 8 by 8. There will be no comma after that. Or you want to put it in a 64. So whatever 12 64 is what, 8 by 8, 2 into 32, many ways. 4 into 60, 16, all these variety of ways you can organize. But we have done it is 8 by 8. You tried it. Can I move forward?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we did this. Now, whatever you did, you run it again one more time. Just let us run the same code, whatever you created, few more times. So first time I created, it has given this 801. Now same code I am running again. For me, it is giving 704, totally different thing. And for you also, it will happen. Another time I am doing it again. Total different table is being created. So that is why random things will pick up randomly. But then when we are conducting experiments, then we need some kind of reliability. Okay, we want to randomly generate, but we want to get consistency. So to do that, NumPy has another random setting. So basically, let us look at it. Do you see how the sampled values change every time? Because you are running the same instruction, but because you are using dot random functions, every time it is picking up different numbers and different matrices are being organized. That's fine, but what if we need consistency? So NumPy has something called np.random.seed. So you use this to control the randomness. So in machine learning, we'll often want to be able to reproduce our random samples, because we are conducting experiments. Every time it changes, we cannot do experiments. Or 4 of us are doing an experiment together right now. Then if all 4 of us are checking our results, then we need some consistency between whatever we do. To gain that consistency, then we use, before running the program, we use this np.random.seed with some variable, some number. If we all use the same number, we all get the same randomness. That is the idea. So now the same code of previously of generating random ints from 0 to 9 and 8 by 8 randomly picking up. Now only thing I am starting the program with np.random.seed. This is a very arbitrary value. I can put 300, 400, 1337, but I chose to do 1337. Let's say you also choose to do 1337 right now. So all of us will get the same matrix. Okay, you can try it. Okay, you just call that, just put prior to that this np dot random dot seed, you put it as 1337 and generate your matrix. Any number of times you generate this matrix, it will give the same value. I'm second time I'm doing it, it is the same value. So okay, so you also try it to. So basically that's what we call NumPy random tools give you this facility of first picking up variety of statistical distributions randomly to conduct experiments. Then you can use this np.random.seed to use them in a very reliable manner, which will help data scientists and machine learning specialists to build intuition by building small experiments, toy exercises to understand more real complex data sets. Am I clear? Are you getting it? Any
Yes,
questions,
sir.
please?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So did you try this? So you are getting
I
the,
have a question.
if you use 1337, yeah. If you use 1337, all of us will get the same numbers. Or if you give 335, for you it will be consistent. Okay. Okay. So that is one thing. Another thing, we again, one more last thing you have to do is that whatever generated matrix, we can do some random choice. Again, I created a table and this is my first column. So here rows comma column. So row I have omitted, only column 0 means my first column 786197769. This is the column I have picked up. Okay, the first column, that is 0th column I picked up here. Okay, now let us say I want to pick from my this some random choice. I want to pick some, how many are there? 786197769. These are 3 3 8. Out of this 8, I want to pick 5 random numbers. Okay, let's say I'm doing some lottery. Okay, I want to give it to equal chance, but I don't want to do a favoritism to anything. I want to do a lottery of that. Okay, so these kind of situations also will come in our work a lot of times. So there very important function is there in NumPy, that is called random choice. Okay, you can give a list of an array, a column or a full array, and you can tell some logic and tell that, hey, pick me some randomly 5 numbers from there. Then you use a function called random choice. Okay, so if you want to randomly select 5 elements from that column, this column, okay, first column of our generated matrix, we can use np.random.choice function. Okay, remember this, because whenever we do some real project, a lot of times you have to do split between training set and test set, and again you will not make a choice on your own, you will actually do a random choice. So that's where these functions are useful. Okay, so here random choice, which takes 2 arguments. One is an array of elements. Okay, this is an array of element, or I can give full table and see column wise, whatever. Then on that I want to pick 5. Okay, so here that is how we are using np.randomSeed 55, so that all of us are getting the same choice. If we do differently, you will get a one choice and I will get one choice. But np.random.choice, what I want to get a choice from generated matrix first column, that is what is my first column from this one. Okay, I want to get 5 picked up randomly. So when I asked, it picked up from this 786197769, 5 it picked 76977. the problem is that I have only 2 to 7s in my column, but it picked actually 3 sevens. Okay, let's say I want it to pick only one time, and I don't want, once it is picked, don't give it a chance, any element. Then we have to use another argument to this. So here, if you look closely, 3 of the elements we selected were 7, but the original column only had 2 sevens. But I want only 2, if at all, in a particular random choice, it can only pick only 2 sevens. It cannot be more than 2 sevens. So what happened? Because whenever you use random.choice function, it picks from here. After picking it again, it puts back in that, and again second chance it will go and again pick. That's why there is a chance that it can pick the same ID, same element, more than what it is really existing in the original one. So in order to solve that, we can use another argument, replace equal to false. So what it does, it will not replace it. Okay, so by default, numpy dot random dot choice actually samples with replacement. It samples and puts it back. That's why there is a chance that again next choice it will pick the same thing again. So in order to avoid that, okay, this just means that after each element is selected, it is replenished before selecting the next one. That is why we got 3 sevens, though we have only 2 sevens in the original array. The third argument, to np.random.choice, tells it to sample with replacement or not. If you put replace equal to false, it will not replace, it will not replenish, so it will remove it out of that when it does the choice next time. Okay, let us run the same code. So again, np.random.seed, again I gave the same 55 to be consistent. Then I am running now the same thing, np.random.choice. My first argument is my first column of my 8 by 8 matrix that I created. Then I want to select 5 from that column, 5 random numbers. Then third argument I am giving replace equal to false. Okay, then it has brought another list where, okay, 2 9s are there, but actually here 2 9s are there, that's okay. Okay, but then it did not pick anything more than it is existing in the original array. So this ensures that no elements are repeated. Okay, so this is again very important function. We'll have to use it. We use 2 things actually when we do data science work. I'll explain at that time. Then there is something called sampling. We have to, lot of data is there, but we'll select a sample. So sampling can be done purely randomly, random sampling we call. Okay, so whatever is the table, randomly it picks up. Then there is a more intelligent way, is called stratified random sampling. Okay, so for example, nowadays people are talking in the corona times, there is something called antibody testing. So that is being used actually as a survey mechanism. How many of the people in the population already got infected with corona and also developed antibodies, so that we'll know that already it is there and people are getting immunity. So some countries are doing. Now let's say that antibody test is there. Now I have, like Hyderabad, I want to conduct a survey in Hyderabad. So Hyderabad has a lot of population. Okay, now let's say Hyderabad has 1 lakh population. Okay, then randomly I told that let us, out of this 1 lakh people, randomly pick 20,000 people. Okay, somewhere here, but randomly some 20,000 people you do. That is called random sampling. But sometimes it is not worthwhile. Hyderabad is made up of some 10 locations, and these 1 lakh people are in 10 locations. Okay, some locations are posh locations, some are little bit slum kind of locations, poor people are living. So instead of doing a pure random sampling, we do stratified random sampling. So one key parameter we will again filter. So we'll put this 1 lakh into locations, 10 locations of whatever number, and from each location you pick 20%. 20% from this location, not uniformly from 1 lakh people, 20%. You put first stratification, and then on the stratified things to apply random sampling. So this is better sampling than this. So you can do a lot of those things using this random.choice function, which is very handy when we do our data science work. So that's about NumPy from a theory point of view. Any questions so far? Any questions?
So Madhu, Joseph here. This random sampling, like it gives different results,
please.
right? Every time.
Every time it gives different results. If you don't want that, you have to use this np.random.seed in your code.
Okay.
And give some number there. If you give it and run it, it will give same thing, as long as your seed is 55.
Okay.
So this seed can be any random number?
Any arbitrary number you choose. But you choose the same number. Like say you, me, Joseph, all 3 of us are conducting an experiment. And we don't want any confusion. Joseph's data is showing something, my data is showing something, your data is showing something. In order to avoid that, what we can do is that we will use same. 3 of us will use same random seed. Then 3 of us will get same number. So that is how we bring reliability into random tools. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it's already 10 o'clock, but let us start exercise now, because next class we'll have to get into pandas. So NumPy exercise we'll do. So for this exercise, let me tell the situation. Okay, the situation is, let's say Telangana government, okay, has in the new high-tech city area somewhere in the financial district, they plotted some 50 land plots they have. Okay, and in order to promote the startups and the IT and all kind of industry, to promote that, they wanted to give these plots, 50 plots only are there. They want to allocate these 50 lands to some businesses who apply for with them. Okay, so they told through a paper notification, we have 50 plots of land, and actually we have 50 plots, but we have put them into 10 different areas. Okay, like that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. They told in one area we will give 5 of them to startups. In another area we give healthcare startups. Here some IT startups. Here some semiconductor startups. Here some real estate. Like that they gave. We have 50 land plots, but we have 10 different groups of industries we want to give it. Each group, we have 10 groups, and they gave names, and they told in each of them we want to give 5. You do your applications. Okay, then actually a lot of applications have come, but they have shortlisted 1700 applications with some business IDs. Okay, and again these applications total is 1700, but they again shortlisted each of these groups in 170. Okay, startups 170, healthcare 170, IT 170, real estate 170. So 1700 they put into 170 each in these 10 areas. Now government wants to be very transparent. They don't want to do any partiality. So somebody told them, better actually you do some random choice, do a lottery kind of thing. Okay, giving equal opportunity to every applicant. Okay, in each of these 10 groups. Okay, so that is why they asked us to use, instead of lottery, put some chits, whatever chits, and then put it in a jar and pick 111. Instead of that, they asked us use some NumPy tools and build something for me. So that is the exercise we are doing. Hope the exercise goal is clear in your mind. Any
Yes,
doubts?
sir.
Okay, so we are doing that exercise. Keep that in mind now, and I want you to do that. Anyway, to do the exercise, anyway, if you are already import numpy as np is there, you don't need to do it. But anytime you have to do that, first numpy has to be first imported. So I hope you have imported now. Okay, now let us start the exercise. So as I told you, I got 1700 applications. Okay, I want to give them some ID names. First application 1, 1700th application 1700. Okay, so I want to create those business IDs, one array. Okay, as a single dimensional array. So let us do that step first. So how do I do that? Let's say I have to call it as my business ID. Okay, I have to create, I'm creating using my np dot array function, and I have to do from 1, starting from 1, ending at 1700. I can use my range function. Range will create a list for me. Okay, if I give my starting value as 1, so it will be the first ID will be 1. Last ID, if I give 1700, it will be 1699. So I have to give 1701. Okay, and I have to create that. So it will create one array of one dimension starting from 1, ending at 1700. Okay, let's create this first. So we have all applications, we have given numbers, all 1700 applications. Okay, 1 starts and 1700 is the last. So please create it.
Done, sir.
And you print it, then it will give a big list. Okay, so
Yes,
we
sir,
have
got it.
created. Yeah, so let us move on. Next, print the shape of the business IDs to confirm it has shape 1700 colon a comma. That's it. It's a one-dimensional array. Okay, so it is a big list from here to here, starting from 1, ending at 1700, and its shape will be 1700, one tuple with one element only, of length 1700. So how do I get it? My business underscore ID dot whatever my array, that is business IDs dot shape, and I print it. Then I get this. So we are just confirming that it is that. Okay, so it is a single dimensional array of length 1700. Now to do our exercise, what we have to have? We have to have, because they have put into 10 groups, group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4, whatever, group 10. Okay, each group they have shortlisted as 1 to 170. Okay, like that they have put it. So basically in my column I have to get 170, 1 to 170, then here 170, 1 to 340, then here 340, 1 to whatever is that number. I have to keep getting like that. So now it is my goal, sorry, it's my goal to reshape this one-dimensional array into whatever 10 columns. Okay, so how do I do that? Okay, so let me go to that reshape. How will you reshape? Now I want to do this business IDs. Already it's created with one single dimension. I will reshape. So how will you reshape? What you will pass here? Will you pass
10, 170.
170 comma 10?
170,
or,
10.
Okay, let us do that. Okay, so anyway, this you have done it shape. Anyway, one more thing I asked here, just to check that your shape is properly set up, the last 10 in our first single dimensional thing we are seeing here. How do we do that? It is simple. Your business IDs, okay, index it, colon, -10, colon. If you give like that, it will do that. Okay, last 10 records, last 10 elements I am seeing, because it's a single dimension. I'm starting from -10. Okay, so anyway, we have seen the last one is 1700, just to check that. Okay, fine. So now we are reshaping it with 170 comma 10. Okay, did you do this? So reshape the one-dimensional business IDs array into a new two-dimensional ID. I'm calling it now ID matrix array, because I'm creating a real table with a matrix now. So basically you call it ID underscore matrix, okay, equal to your business ID, that is single dimensional array. Any name you can give. Here in this exercise, they gave this name, business IDs array. Okay, that already is created. On that, I'm reshaping it. Okay, with what? I'm reshaping it 170 comma 10. Okay, clear. So now I have, let us see what is really happened here. It has created 170 rows with 10 columns. That is what we wanted. Okay, now let us say we want to see what is the information contained in my first column, because in my first column I'm expecting that business ID 1, it has to start, it has to end with business ID 170, but I reshaped like this now. Okay, 170 comma 10, 10 column, 170 rows with 10 columns. I have done it. Let me see what is there in my first column. So let us access first column. Okay, first column, how do we access? Rows. So basically, whatever my ID matrix, oh sorry, my ID matrix is the table. Okay, index operator. Then what we have to do is that we have to rows colon rows comma column, but rows we are omitting. Okay, so just you put this and comma, and column you put first column 0. Do like this, then you will get the first column. Okay, so we have done that. You also try this. So ID matrix we are indexing to see our first column. So first column starting with 1 but ending with what? You see and tell me. In my thing I did not copy it properly, but I can go and have a look at in my thing also. Okay, let me also do parallelly with you. Okay, so I am also creating my business IDs single dimensional array with 1 to 1700. Then I looked at the shape. It is a single dimensional. I'm seeing the last 10 observations. Yes, they're correct. Then I created a reshaped table now, ID matrix with 170 by 10. And okay, now 170 rows and 10 columns is my shape, two-dimensional. That is fine. So now I wanted to see my first column. So I omitted my rows section and comma. My column, I selected 0. That is my first column. So what is there? If I look at it, my first column starting at 1 and ending on 1691. Okay, but what I wanted really in my column is that for real estate, I have shortlisted only 1 to 170 applications. Okay, so I want 1 to 170, then 170, 1 to 340, like that I organized my applications. So I want that way, not this way. Okay, so that is my problem. So how do I get what I want? So that is, let us get back to again our presentation. Okay, okay, so what happened now is that this we have done, reshaped it to 170 by 10, then we did not get what we want really. Okay. Actually, these are the times. Actually, we use some NumPy tools, and that is where some toy exercises are important. Okay, we are not able to understand how to get the column into, because we are not able to see the full matrix in single screen. So sometimes whenever you encounter such problems, let us keep the exercise a little bit aside now and create a miniature problem now. To understand properly, we create mini data sets. Sometimes we call them toy data sets. When even we do some projects also, in future we'll do projects. At times we'll be talking about very complex things. Then the complex things cannot be understood by seeing the real data set. Then it's always useful for us to create a toy. Toy is a miniature one. So now let us reduce this problem to a toy. Okay. So what I'm trying to do here is that forget about 1700. Let us look at another problem, smaller problem that we can see full in a single screen. I want to actually create business IDs 1 to 170, and I want to see in the first column 1 to 17, in the second column 18 to 34, like that. Finally, whatever start at 170. This is how I want to see my columns. Okay, because that is what I want in the big table also. 1 to 170, 171 to 340, 341 to something. So to what is really happening, should I use rows or columns or rows 10? That to understand, we have to reduce the problem. Reducing the problem is basically toy exercises. So we are doing a toy here. So what I'm asking you to do here is that instead of creating a table, 2 by 2 table with 1700 businesses, do it with 170. Okay, and call it as mini ID matrix. Okay, we can easily create. Okay, we are creating all these things, mini business IDs here, 1 comma 171. Then we are reshaping with 17 comma 10. Earlier it was 170 comma 10, it is 17 comma 10. So full table has been created for us, 1 to 10, 11 to 20. So basically 17 rows and 10 columns. So look at it. What we really want is the column actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 17, 18, 19, like that. I want to see these 10 columns, not like this. So do you see how it fills in the matrix one row at a time? So when you select the first column, you are not getting the businesses 1 to 17. So we were not getting 1 to 170 last time also. So when you select from the first column, you are not getting 1 to 17. Instead, you are getting every 10th business. Actually, in the row 11, every 10th business as the next element, 1, 11, 21, like that. So maybe actually what we have to reshape is not 17, 10. It should be 10 comma 17. So 10 rows with 17 columns, and then maybe transpose that matrix, then we will get what we want. So to see that, let us reshape with now not 17 comma 10, let us reshape with 10 comma 17. Okay, here I'm doing 10 comma 17. Then I'm seeing my matrix. How is it? 1, 2, 3. It is going up to 17. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 17. 18 is starting in the next row. Then 36. So my row is having what I want. But finally, to conduct my exercise, I want my row to be a column. So we have 10 rows instead of 10 columns. Okay, the first row has the business IDs 1 to 17. That is what I want, which is what we want. And if we want the column to have businesses 1 to 17, we can simply transpose this matrix, and then we will get what we want. Clear? Any questions on this?
No.
Any questions? You understood now what we are trying to do. So basically, I wanted to give you why this sometimes toy exercises or toy experiments are useful to understand, because we'll do in our projects. That's why in this exercise I brought that to you. Okay, so this kind of miniature data sets and playing with them gives us better impression of the problem that we are solving, what way I want to solve. So basically what we have to solve, we have to reshape our business IDs 1 to 1700, not with 170 comma 10, but actually 10 comma 170. Then each row will have 1 to 170 and second row will be 170 1 to 340. That is what I want. But right now with that kind of reshape, the what information I want is it in the rows. By transposing it, I will get it to the columns. Then I can do my random choice and pick out for each of these columns, group of industries. I can pick randomly 5, so that whatever I have done transparently I have done. Okay, so now back to the main problem. We understood what is the problem we are committing. So back to the main problem. So instead of 170 to 10, now I am creating a ID underscore matrix with 10 comma 170. Okay, so now my table, I'm seeing again, I want to see my first row. So I have to give first row is actually 0 comma column. Then I give, I'm omitting columns, I'm seeing my first row. Okay, 0 comma column. Then I omitted my column part of my table. I have seen my first row. My first row, if I see it starting at 1 here, okay, and it is ending at 170. So this is what I want, but this information is in my first row. So what I have to do, I want to put it into my column. So what I do a transpose. So I'm rewriting my ID matrix with column wise, whatever I want. I got 1 to 170, 170, 1 to 340, whatever. Now I'm getting that, but I'm not able to see full. But now we can see the shape of that, and first column we are seeing that 1 to 170. Okay, now I got what I want. Just let us make some checks whether I got what I want or not. Now my table is like this. Okay, I know my first column. Okay, I want to know what are my minimums, what is the minimum value of each column. Okay, how do I do that? Minimum of each column, I can use np.min. Okay, and what I have to run, my array, that is actually this ID underscore matrix. Okay, full 8 by 8 or whatever, 170, 10 by 70, 170 matrix. Okay, I'm seeing, and in that I want to know column wise min. What is the first column's minimum value, second column's minimum value, third column's minimum value, 10th column's minimum value. How do I do that? I filter it by my axis. Axis equal to 0 if I want my column values. Okay, so that is what I'm doing, that group min. Okay, I'm calling a variable called group min, which is creating a list. So np.min on my table, whatever two-dimensional table with 10 columns and 170 rows, axis equal to 0. Column wise I have seen. So first column minimum is 171, second column minimum was 171, 171, 341, 511, like that it is there. Okay, clear? So similarly I want to see max of that. So you can write the code. How do you do? Max is again your group max, you give the whatever variable name equal to np function I am running max. Okay, I am running it on my array. What is that? Business matrix, ID matrix. Okay, then x is equal to 0. Column wise maximum also I wanted. So maximum of each column is, first column is ending at 170, second column is ending at 340, third 510, finally 1700. So the table has been formed. That is what we are checking by seeing min, max. Also, you want to be very transparent with all the applicants. Ensure that every group has been actually exactly 170 applications are there from where we will pick up a lottery. Okay, so I want to do that. So my np.max minus np.min plus 1, if I do 170, 170, 170 will come. Okay, so each column has 170 elements or 170 applications. Okay, so now you are clear that you have set up for the lottery to be drawn. You have set up the transparent system that all 10 different verticals have got equal 170 applications. Though you got 1700 applications, you filtered to 1700, and again in that 1700 you filtered everything into equally. Real estate 170 applications, healthcare 170 applications, IT startups 170 applications, like that, all 10 groups you put it. So now you are all set well. Now you want to use a lottery system and pick, instead of one minister or one IAS officer doing some favoritism to a particular company, you want it to be lottery system. Then what you will do, you will do a lottery across the columns and pick up, though there are, how many are there in each of the things? 170 are there in each column. From 170 of group 1 I want to pick 5. From 170 of group 2 I want to pick another 5, like that, each group 5. So 50 randomly I want to pick the companies and allot them lands. Okay, this is the output I want to get. Okay, so how do you write this? Okay, from group 1, whatever column 170 are there, randomly picked up this. Group 2 randomly picked up 5, like that I want to get. So you have to write a code now to get this. So how will we do that? Think about it. We have to write a for loop, definitely. Okay, so let's say each is a group. Okay, for, first put a for group, and let's say call that as a group only, group. Okay, in, okay, I have to create an iterable, column 1, column 2, column 3, column 10. I want to iterate through column 1 has to get group 1 first, column 2 has to get group 2, like that. In the loop I want to go each column once, do this, come back, go to the second column, do it, like that I want to do. Finally I need to get this kind of output. So output is in my mind, so I'm thinking about a logic again, because I know I'm doing it, but you have to think how to get it. So now I have to set up a iterable. Okay, how do I get my one iterable? So I have to create, let's say, a range of 1 to 10. Okay, because first column to 10th column I want to go. So I have to do a range, but range, instead of giving hard coded 10 means 0 to 9. Okay, we can do many ways, but let us say we don't want to hard code. We want to look at our ID matrix and shape of that, and within that shape it's a 2-dimensional tuple will return. In that, the second element or first element, 0 and 1, first element is actually columns. So I want to pick up columns from there and create a range from that. So let me put like that, range ID matrix. Okay, okay, ID matrix, no, this is actually not correct. ID matrix dot shape. Okay, so ID matrix dot shape will actually return to me something like what, of this, what it will show, 10.
10,17.
No, it will be ID matrix of, let us look at it. Shape we have to understand. Okay, anyway, let me go to my code. only. We have reshaped it to 170.10. Then we have got here. Okay. Okay, this one. No, I don't want. Okay. So here we got this. I am also running mini ID matrix I created, exercise. Then we understood the thing. Then we came back to the main problem now. So I'm reshaping it to 110 comma 170. So I'm seeing my thing here. Then I transpose. So my ID matrix dot shape has 170 comma 10. Okay. So this is the shape right now after transposing. Okay. So let us go back here. Here, when I look at the shape, shape is 170 comma 10 after transposing 170 rows. Actually, the columns are still 10. Okay. 170 different way it came, though 170 rows and 10 columns, but because we transposed it, the numbers have been organized differently, but our length of the or shape of our ID matrix is 170 comma 10. So here I am using for group in range ID dot matrix dot shape. I'll write it again, for group in range. Okay, I'm creating range not through hard coded, but I want to take this 10 out of this shape and put a range. That is why I'm writing like that, ID underscore matrix. Okay, dot shape, which will return a tuple 170 comma 10. In that, I want to index the first one. First means this is 0th one, this is 1. So basically what it creates is that this for loop, it creates a group in range of 0, 1, 2, 3, because it's a nothing but range of 9. Okay, range of 10, because it is picking up this here. But we are not hard coding it, because let us say we want it to work in any time. Let's say there is a bigger table with 20 columns. Then also I want to use the shape and get it. Then we are making it more generalized. Hope you are with me what I'm trying to say. So this is my for loop for group in range. Actually range is 10, but I'm not using hard coded 10. Instead of that, what I'm doing, I'm going to my NumPy array, this two-dimensional array. I got the shape. Shape has returned me a tuple with 2 elements, and the second element represents the columns. So I took the second element. So second element is nothing but it is holding a value of 10. So this instruction is nothing but for group in range 10. So basically group first time iteration it will get 0, second time iteration it will get 1, like that it will go to 9. Okay, so that is our first loop I have constructed. Now I have to get this output. Okay, this output I have to get randomly picked 5 IDs from each column. So I put a column here. I am writing the next block of code. So looking at the print, so I can print. Okay, and it wants me to print first group 1. Let me put a quotation here, and I'm putting a placeholder and a colon. Okay, and it wants me to pick out 5 random things and print it. So I'm putting that also as my placeholder. Okay, so I'm ending my quote. So my string is ended, and I am putting dot format now, and I will write what should get into my first one and what should get into my second one. Okay, first one what should get? Group 1. So now I have group 0, 1 like that is there. So if I want to get group 1 here, okay, I have to put group is reading my, okay, group is actually 0. So I want to put, actually let's put here, this is actually group 1. So group plus 1. Okay, 0 plus 1 will come 1 first as 1 instead of 0 because I want it like that. Okay, then that is my first format dot format first value. Okay, second value should be randomly choiced. Okay, so I have to use my random choice, random whatever, random dot choice. Okay, from where I want to do the choice, I want to choice from ID matrix. Okay, I want to pass my first index. Okay, the group, okay, that is 0. Then it has to go on to the loop, first pick up with 0th column, then first column, then like the 10th column. Then I want to pick 5 of them. Then I want to use, because I don't want to say, same company to be picked twice, so I give this like this as an argument. So first placeholder will be this variable, second placeholder, this one will be filled with by running this random dot choice and do that. Anyway, look at the code because it's already written. Okay, so what we are doing here, anyway, put np.random.seed123 so that all of us will get the same output, you, me, everyone. Then I'm putting a loop for group in range id underscore matrix dot shape first element, that is column wise. Then I'm printing, anyway, group is a string and only this is replaced by 1, 2, 3. So that's why I'm putting group plus 1. Group will be getting first time in the loop, this variable group gets 0. So when it comes here, okay, first time it will put group, placeholder will be group plus 1. So 0 plus 1, 1 colon. Then the second one is np dot random choice id matrix rows omitted comma group. So first it will get 0 here. So 0th column it will identify, and on that it will put 5 things and false. So this list will be selected and it goes to the second loop. It will get 1, 2, 3 like that. All 10 will be selected. Did you try this? Team, are you there?
Yes, sir, trying.
Okay, please try it. You have to type it correctly, and why you are doing like this also think about it. Anyway, many ways it can be done, but this is the smartest way of doing it, of using our full knowledge so far. So don't forget to give np.random seed, and if you give 123 and if you have given all of the things same random seed, then we will get all the same results. Otherwise little different results will come. Tell me, anyone got it? Shall I move on? Yeah, Madhu. Okay. So anyway, please try it. It's not, maybe you have to type it carefully, but the logic wise it's the same. Okay. So now whatever exercise has been given to us by government, we have done, and we have done transparently. Whatever happened, it happened through sheer randomness, no influence nowhere. Okay. So we have completed our exercise and gave these lottery results to government, and they allocated land. Okay. With that, NumPy has been completed. So day after tomorrow, we will start Pandas. Again, Pandas will go through it once, and then we'll conduct a small exercise. And with that, our Python crash course will be completed, and then we'll be going back to pure machine learning work to do some projects. So any questions, please let me know.
No, sir.
Okay, so let us then
No, sir.
stop here. Okay, so hope you are able to understand. One thing is that it is not rocket science. You just try it. Logic is also not that complex. Only try it, because all these things will be very handy when we do projects. You can be very fast at the time. Okay, so see you day after tomorrow. Anyway, I took 30 minutes extra today. I hope it's a holiday for a lot of you today. But anyway, so learn, have fun. Bye bye, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, sir. Bye, sir. Thank you.